Hilchis Gzeilah V'Aveidah Perik Shiva Aser. Kol Metzia Shamayim Lebashim Shel Metzia. The Metzias that we said before, that the person that finds it can keep it. Pashas, we're talking about a Metzia that a person lost and there was no simon. So Memele, he was Miyayish, he knows about it, and he was Miyayish, Al Deras, if there was Goyim there. So also, because there were Reiv Goyim there, so therefore he's also Miyayish. We learned Benegeh Zuti Shel Yam, also it's Hareo Shel Metzia. So in order for the Metzia to own it, is Eina Zeichaba Acha Tagia Liyadi L'Rishusay. In order for him to actually become his, is only if it reached Yadi Rishusi, he made a Maisa Kinyan. Avalim Rosa Metzia, if he sees the Metzia, is Afilu Nafal Alo, he fell on the Metzia. Now Lubeil Ba Achar V'Hichzik Ba, the other person made a Maisa Kinyan, is Harei Zeh Shehichzik Ba Zachaba. So it says falling on a Metzia is not considered a Maisa Kinyan. Now later on we're going to learn that there's a musig of Daled Amish Shalodin Kainisli. In Rosh Hashanah, Daled Amos is not Kana, but in other places, in a Simta, and Siddur Rosh Hashanah, Daled Amos is Kana. So over there, if there would be a Metzia, and he would be Kana to a Daled Amos, and he would be Nafal Allah, so he would be Kana. We don't say, L'mashal, in Svara, there's a Gemara, that Nefila Nichalei den Niknei, Daled Amos Le Nichalei den Niknei, so he's not Kana with Daled Amos. Lepel and Shulchan Aruch, it's Paskin not like that. It's Paskin that if Lepel, if it was a place where Daled Amos is Kana, so Mele, even if he was Nafal Allah, he's also Kana with Daled Amos. I'll call upon him. So the general rule is that a person is not kaina a metzia with re'iyah. You have to make a ma'aser kinyan. We discussed that the Rambam says it that shel moitza knows if a person wants to own a metzia, so then it has to be a ma'aser kinyan. What happens if the original person that lost it and he was miyayish on it, and now he sees it? Do we say that takes away the yush? Memela it's his because the yush is gone, or no? He needs a new ma'aser kinyan. So we discussed that that's a dion achreinim, and some want to say it's a machlek sorishenim. But again, this dion, whether yush is the pshat became hefker, or yush is only that the person could be make a ma'aser kinyan on it. But lepel, once the bailam rishenim a chayzer from the yush, so memela it becomes his without a ma'aser kinyan. Halacha beis hoyer reichav al gabi behema v'roas hamitzia v'omer lechaveris cheli bo. So he asks someone to be zoich on his behalf. Is kivin sheigbilei. So once that person is kaina, this metzia for him, he makes a ma'aser kinyan for him, is kana harechav. So the din is, so we're saying over here that a person could make a ma'aser hagba on a metzia for someone else. It's not considered more klezben again being chav lacherim, but I'll call upon him. The din is that someone can be zoicha on a metzia on behalf of someone else. Even though the other person doesn't have it yet, but lepel, the ma'aser kinyan was done by the person that's standing on the ground, and it was done on ma'aser kinyan for the reichav. Now, v'im amar le tnoli, he didn't tell him scheli ba, he said tnoli, and v'notla, and this person went ahead and took it. V'amar ani zachisi ba, I'm the one that was zeichen it, and knows I didn't take it for you. So then it's zacha b'hanetel. Knows even though Hitaka asked him, he should give it to him. Abel lepel, when he picks it up and he takes it, he kataina ani zachisi ba. Now v'im mishanosnu l'reichav, once he gives it to the reichav, amar ani zachisi batchila, I was zeicha batchila. So then li amar klum. So in other words, once he gives it to the person, so we assume either he was zeich on his behalf, that's why he gave it to him, or even if he wasn't zeich on his behalf, but lepel, the fact that he gave it to him is megala, that he wasn't zeich la'atzma, he was zeich for the other person, or he picked it up, I'm asked to give it to the other person. Masha'enkin, before he gives it to the other person, he says, ani zachisi batchila, so then it's zachaba. The pashtus diach of the Rambam is that if lepel, he would say scheli ba. And kivin sheigbinu lekana reicham, and he doesn't have a right to taina aniza chisiba. Whereas when he tells him tnoli, that's the pashas lashon haram. Whereas when a person says tnoli, so he didn't ask him scheli ba. So even though he picked it up, he could taina aniza chisiba. Because the fact that he picked it up, he said tneli. Maybe he picked it up, I'm asked to give it, and he changed his mind. And he said aniza chisiba, and he want to be zeichen it. Masha'enkin, if he said scheli ba and he went ahead and picked it up. So when he goes and picks it up after he said scheliba and he wasn't moicha, so the pashas, the picking up was on manas to give it to the other person. And if now he's taining on his zochisiba, he's not neman because the pashas, he told him scheliba and he picked it up. Now he's changing his mind. So it doesn't help. So nachamal. So when a person says, if a person says scheliba, as soon as that person picks it up, it belongs to the original person. And if that person is going to go ahead and change it, say that I want to be zeicher, I was zeicher it, we don't believe him. Because he told him scheliba and he picked it up, and he didn't say anything when he picked it up, that he's not picking it up on behalf of the person that's the reichev, so it belongs to the reichev. Masha'inkin, if Lepel, he told him Tnei Liba, so if he actually gave it to him, and now he's steinig, that before I gave it to you, I was zeichan it, so we don't believe him. Masha'inkin, if he didn't give it to him, and Lepel, he still has it in his possession, and all he told him was Tnei Liba, so Memele, he has a right to say, and he's a chisi batchila. Halacha Gimel. Hamagbia mitzil lechaveri kana chaveri. Now the case in the first case over there was also hamagbia mitzil lechaveri, but over there was b'shlichos of the person that wants to be zeicha. Or someone asked someone else to go ahead and be zeicha this mitzil on his behalf. Over here the chiddush is hamagbia mitzil lechaveri kana chaveri afal pi shelo yamar liklum. Even though the person that's being zeicha didn't ask the one to be zeicha, nevertheless he's zeicha. Now higbiu mitzil shnayim. So the din is kanu shnayim. When two people pick up a mitzvah together, so they're both kaina. And it's mavur, and the Gemara's mavur, that the pshat is, because be'emes, each person has to, over here, in this case, be picking it up for someone else. In other words, you can't be kaina something if the other part of it is lying on somewhere where you're not holding it. So l'chura, since each person is only picking up one side of it, so l'chura, the other side of it, the Gemara said tehizah can be munachas bekarka, as if it's munachas bekarka. So the only reason why it's not is because, let's say, Reuven and Shimon picked it up together. So Reuven picked it up for himself, and he also picked it up for Shimon, and Shimon picked it up for himself, and he also picked it up for Reuven. So this din that shneim sheikbiu mitzvah, they're both kena, is also employing this principle of amagbia mitzvah lechaveri kana chaveri, and that's behem shechos halacha dalet higbiu lecheresh eshetei cotton. Is leikana pikech. In other words, hamagbia mitzvah lechaveri is taka kana chaveri. But that's only if we're talking about a bardas that has a schus to be kena on your behalf. Masha'inkin, if we're dealing with the cheresh eshetei cotton, they don't have an ability to be zeich on someone else's behalf. So mele leikana pikech lefisha elam das. Now he bia cheresh and pikech keachad. If a cheresh and a pikech pick it up together, so the Maisa say, if two charoshim pick it up together, so there was a takana that a cheresh should be kaina metzia, even though he doesn't have das, and also the two charoshim together should also be kaina metzia, even though be'emes neither of them could be kaina on the other person's behalf, but nevertheless there was takana that leisil insui that the two charoshim should be kaina together. That's that's what we're going to learn mehemshach. But b'medvar mamurim when there's two charoshim, masha'inka when there's a cheresh and pikeach, so the pikeach is not kaina because the kinyan of the cheresh doesn't work on behalf of the pikeach. And didn't make a takana that a kinyan of a cheresh should work on behalf of pikeach. So therefore the pikeach wasn't kaina. Once the pikeach is not kaina, so the pikeach is obviously not being also kaina b'shvil ha-cheresh. He's not interested in being kaina for the cheresh if he himself is not being kaina. And there's no concern of leisil in tzuya because the cheresh sees the pikeach is not getting it. So the fact that he's not getting it is not a problem. So therefore, lepeil, the din is azoi. Higbia cheresh and pikeach ke'achod. So mitech sheleikon a pikeach, leikon a cheresh. The pikeach is not kaina because the cheresh's kinyan doesn't work on the pikeach's behalf, and memela the pikeach also is not kaina for the cheresh. However, hoyu shneim chereshim, if they were both chereshim, so then tiknu chacham sheyiknu kedei sheyavili not. So people shouldn't start fighting. You'll take it away from them, and they'll taina why you're taking it away from me. If two pikchim would have been picking it up, so you wouldn't take it away from us. Why the fact that two chereshim are picking it up, you do take it away from us. But medvar moment they're going to fight if it's two chereshim, if it's a cheresh and a pikeach, and you see you're taking it away from the pikeach as well, so then the cheresh has nothing to fight about. Halach. So the din is that if two people pick up a mitzvah together, so they both came. Halacha hey, if they both pick him. Halacha hey, shnayim shiro gomel echamer shel mitzvah. Now v'kodmu shnayim, they both went v'hin higu, and they both went ahead and they made a ma'aser kinyan of being maniged, which they might or they slept it. Either they slept it or they were maniged. Both of them is a kinyan of meshicha. Shoya echad manig ve'echad meshach. One person was being manig. Manig means you're being manig from the back. You're putting like a stick to it to the back and causing it to walk. And ve'echad meshach, one of them is pulling it from the front. So the din is kanu shneim. So that's each one is a ma'aser kinyan. And therefore, kanu shneim, they're both kaina. There's an issue over here, whether or not over here you also need the principle of magbia mitzvah lechaveri in order for them to be kaina. That's a big machlekes rishenim. When you have two people picking up a mitzvah, so over by mitzvah, the pshat is the other side is kilos on the floor. So mele the hagbah only works through a magbia mitzvah lechaveri. When two people are making a ma'aser kinyan on the same item, does each person need the other person's ma'aser kinyan for him in order to employ this din of Amagbi Metzil Chaveri, you need Amagbi Metzil Chaveri, Kanal Chaveri, in order for it to work, or it could work without Amagbi Metzil Chaveri. But I'll call upon him. The din is that Lepel, both of them made a Maisa Kinyan, they were both Kana. But Medvar Mamurim, by Chamer we say that if one was a Meshech and one was a Manig, they're both Kana. Aval Begomel, so Meshicha is a stronger Kinyan than Manig. So Imhoya Echad Manig, Echad Meshech. So over there, a Meshech kan Avalei Manig, because by Gomel, it's more normal to be Meshech than to be Manig. So even though Manig is also Kana by a Gomel, but that's only a Manig is Kana by a Gomel if there's no Meshech. If there's a Meshech, so the Manig is not Kana. Halacha Vov. Behemas Metzia, Shekodem Echad, V'achaz B'Meseira. He wasn't Meshechit, he wasn't Manigit, he just held the reins. So the din is Leikana. You're not Kana to the Behema by holding the rein of the Behema. You have to either be schlepped the Behema from the front, or Yanig, or Manigit from the back, but causing it to move. The same idea applies Benichsi Ager, which is Hefker. Al der is a Metzia. Avul Kana Misera Levat. But this person that holds on to the Misera, he's only kind of the Misera. Now, Hoya Echod Reichev Echod Eches Misera. If one had one was Reichev and the other one was Eches Misera, is HaReichev, the Reichev who sees, makes a Maisa Kinyan of the Behema, making a Maisa Meshicha, is Kana Behema, is Kana the Behema, and also V'Hamisera Shal Lechia Behema Bulvad, is also Kana the reins which are tied to the cheeks of the Behema, to the jaw of the Behema. The other person that's holding the Meseira, so he's not kind of the Behema, but he is kind of the Meseira. He's kind of the Meseira. So he's Oiches only the part of the Meseira which he was Oiches. So over here we're learning Azoy. It's like if a person holds the Meseira and without anyone else being Moishech, so vice to he's kind of the whole Meseira. That's the Pasha Lashon HaRambam. The Rambam Halacha Vov. That is someone that Kadam Echad V'achaz Meseira, and there's no one else here involved, so he's not kind of the Behema, but he's kind of vice the entire Meseira. Masha'enken, if there is someone else involved, someone else is being Reichiv, so then, if someone else is being Reichiv, so then the person that's Reichiv is kind of the Behema, and the person that's Reichiv is also kind of the Meseira, which is on Lechia Behema, and the person that's holding the Meseira is only holding the part that he's actually holding in his hand, and the rest of the Meseira, which is between where the person is holding with the Meseira and the Behema, that's all Leikana Echad Mem. Halacha Ches. Chatzeri Shalodom Koino Loi Shalei Midaita. A person's Chatzer could be Koino without him knowing about it. And therefore, Vim Nafelu B'Metzia is Hareyu Shal Balachatzer. It belongs to the Balachatzer, even though the Balachatzer is not aware of this Metzia. If it's a Chatzer which would watch the Metzia, because the Metzia is secure in this Chatzer. So even though he owns it, but it's not a Chatzer Mishtameres, you can walk out of there, people walk in and out, it's not really surrounded by a serious wall. If he was standing on the side of his field. And he said Zachseli Sadi, so then Zachabas, that's the din, as Chatzer She'ena Mishtameres, he has to be on Oimed B'tzat Sodeu and say Zachseli. However, V'meina in B'cham, Oy Shoya Emed Abaviliamar Zachseli Sadi, which we learned Beneged the Chanus. We had Beneged the Aveidah, which was in the Chanus. So the Bala Chanus is not Kena, even though he's a Emed B'tzat Chanusei. But on the other, he didn't say Zachseli Chanusei, like we learned before. Shoya Emed V'Aviliamar Zachseli Sadi, Kolas Kedem Zachar. That's the number one. V'chein, Arba Ames Shal Adam, Shehu Emed B'tzidam, is Harei Elu Kenem Le. Arba Ames is also Kena for a person. And therefore, V'migia Metzil, Tech Arba Ames Shalei Zachaba. And over here, the Ram doesn't say that you have to say Zachsuli. Because over here, since Lepel, it's in a matzav, where all he has to do is bend down and get it, so it has a din of a Chatzah Mishtameres, and therefore he doesn't have to say Zachsuli the Arba Ames. Halacha Tes. Chachamim tiknu dover zeh. This idea of Arba Ames that's koina is a takona derabanan. Kedei shelo yirivu hamoitzim zeh zeh. People shouldn't fight. Just grab the item. So mele, the rule will be that whoever's in the Dalar Ames first, it's his item. In mele, there's nothing to fight about. But medvar mamurim, when do we say that when is there a din that Dalar Ames is koina? That's besimta. Besimta is like a little bit like off the Rishus HaRabim. It's not mamish. See, the Rishus HaRabim means the size of the Rishus HaRabim. Along the length of the Rishus HaRabim, there was a place which was the side of the Rishus HaRabim, which wasn't mamish, where people were walking, but on the other end, there wasn't yet the Rishus HaYachid. Mashenkin, a simta is like a little something like off the Rishus Harabim, which is not like along the length of the Rishus Harabim. It's like a Karen Zavis in the Rishus Harabim, like a little area off the Rishus Harabim where people gather. But it's not a Rab Mahalchim Shom. So either it's Besimta, Betzidr Rishus Harabim, She'ein Harabim Dechen Bem. People don't are pushing over there. Or if you're talking about a field which has no owners, so over there also there's a din of Dal Ramas being Kena. If a person standing in Rishus Harabim, B'Rishus Chaveirei is Ein Arba Amas Keneslei. Ein Kena Shom at Shetekia Mitzil Yada. So we're learning that there's a din called Kinyan Arba Amas. The Kinyan of Arba Amas means that if a person is standing within your Arba Amas, anything that's within your Arba Amas is considered yours, and even if you don't say Zochseli Sadi. Even if you don't say Zochseli Sadi, Ram doesn't say you have to say Zochseli. Now, this din of Arba Amas only applies to a Simta and to Tzidei Rishus Harabim or to a Sada She'ein Shel Shneim, She'ein Shel Echad. It doesn't belong, a Sada Shel Hefker. Masha'enkin, if you're in Rishus Harabim or if a Sada that belongs to someone else or Rishus that belongs to someone else, so then there's no din of Kinyan Dal Ramas. Over there, you have to actually have it. Halacha Yud. Ktana yesh lechotzer v'yesh la'arba amas. Now the din is by a get. The pasuk says v'nosen biyoda. That you have to give the get biyad ha'isha in order to be megarisher. Chazal dashen ein li al biyoda chatzeira minayin. So we learn out that chatzeira is also nichlal in yoda. That so memela v'nosen biyoda is also kel chatzeira. Now the din is you can give a get to a ktana as well. And that din also applies to her chatzera. So you could give the get in the chatzera of the ktana. So memela we learn out that the chatzera of a ktana has a din of riyat. So even though a ktana doesn't have shlichus, she can make a shliach, but on the other end she has a chatzera, and that chatzera has a din of riyat. Now that din is legabi get. That din is not really legabi moment. But Chazal instituted midrabanon that just like she has a chatzera, which has a din of yad legabi get, so who adin, her chotzer has a din of yad legabe mitzia. So memela, so if she has a mitzia, and that's in her chotzer, so memela she can be kinda with this chotzer a mitzia. She be why? Because since we see that that Torah says that she has a chotzer, that chotzer has a din of yad legabe get. So even though again it's only talking about legabe get, not legabe mitzia, but on the other midrabanan she has a din of a mitzia of a chotzer also legabe mitzia that chotzer has a din of yad. Now that's only talking about a ktana, but a cotton there was never a gili atera that his chotzer should have a din of a yad, legabi anything. Memele, the musig of a chotzer by legabi mitzia by a ish is only mehilches shlichus. In other words, the whole musig that a chotzer can be kena for a person, chatzer shaladim kenale, that's a gather of shlichus. It's not a gather of yad. By a isha was nizgala that a chotzer has a din of a yad. And has a din of yad also legabe a ktana. But by an ish, by a cotton, there's no musik that it was nizgala that his chotzer should have a din of a yad, and therefore his chotzer only works with the teir of shlichus. And since it works only with teir of shlichus, so only a ish, a gadol, can make a shliach. Masha'ink and a cotton can make a shliach. So therefore comes out a halacha that says even though the halacha originates in hilchis legabe hilchis gittin, that by a isha can be makabel her get through her chotzer, and that's on a deraisa dika level. So from here comes a derabana dika level that a isha could also be zeicher in her mitzia through her chotzer. Masha'enkin by an ish where there was never such a gilui that there was a musig of a chotzer having a din of his yad. So memela, so the chotzer only has a din of a shlichus, and memela by an ish he can't a cotton can't have a chotzer. So it comes out a din that a isha a tana could have a chotzer to be kaina a mitzia. And an ish can have a chotzer to be kaina mitzia if he's a cotton, because lepel the chotzer has to be kaina milchus shlichus, and a cotton doesn't have shlichus. That's this din. Halacha yud. Ktana yesh le chotzer v'yesh le arba amas. V'cotton ein le chotzer v'ein le arba amas. Why? Mimnei shechotzer shel ktana mik yoda lemadnua. The musik of a chotzer by a ktana we learn out from yad, because it says the pasuk v'nosen biyoda, and we learn out the yad includes chotzer, so the chotzer has a din of a yad. And kshem she misgareshes beget amagel yada. From here comes another din that kshem she misgareshes beget amagel yada because the is kach misgareshes beget amagel chatzera. So memela the chotzer has a din of a yad. Ukshem she yesh lechotzer linyan aget. So in other words, that's already a deraisa dikul din. And then there's a derabana dikul din. Kshem she yesh lechotzer linyan aget kach yesh linyan mitzia. And by arba amis shel adam k'chatzera linya metzia. Arba amas has a din of a metzera of a chotzer linya metzia. So therefore, nachamol. So Isha has a chotzer which has a din of a yad legabi get, and that chotzer which has a din of a yad legabi get also has a din of a chotzer linya metzia. Avalo ish lamadnu shechatzera kenolei mishluchi. The whole musik that a chotzer works by an ish is not based on the fact that a chotzer has a din of a yad. We don't have a ribui that a chotzer should have a din of a yad. It only has a din of a shliach. Kederach shekenu l'shluchi. Kach tiknei chatzeri. His chotzer could be kain on his behalf, just like a shliach could be kain on his behalf. And v'hakotten hail vein eis shliach. A cotton doesn't have a musik of shlichus. Is kach in chatzeri v'li arba'a mishli kenu li'at shedagiyah mitzil yad. So bekitzer, it comes out that by a isha who is chatzeri nisrab mishum yad. So from here was nishtal shal also that her chotzer could be kain her mitzil. That's a drabanan. Mashenkin by a ish, there was never a gilui that his chotzer should have a din of a yad. The chotzer was only a din of a shliach. So so there's no musig of a chotzer being kaina mitzia for an ish. If the ish is a cotton, halacha, because a cotton can't have a shliach. Halacha yudalef. Mi shero acherim rotzim achar mitzia, barei tzvi shover egezel shlei parchus. He has a tzvi shover egezel shlei parchu in his chotzer, and there are other people running after it in order to be kainit. Now lepel, it's a chotzer she'enim mishtameres, and he's a oimed b'tzat sodeo. We learned that if it's a chotzer she'enim mishtameres, and he's a oimed b'tzat sodeo, he has to say zochs l'sodi, and memele he's kainit. However, over here, there's another factor. The question, normally when you have a chotzer she'enim mishtameres, and he says zochs l'sodi, he has smichas das, that he's going to be kainit. He's going to go and take it. Mashenkin of something that's running, and even if he's going to run after it, he's not going to be able to really catch it. So here the issue is whether there's really smichas das in order to be kained. That's the issue over here. So he says, Misha roa acherim rotzim achar mitzia, barei tzvi shover egezu shlei parchu, is sodin azazeh. Im hoya emed b'tzat sodeo shein betecha. He's standing beside Asada, and ve'ilo hoya rotz hoya magiyam, and lepel he could have ran and caught it. And lepel va'amar zochsul isodi, zochsul isodeu. Because lepel, even though it's a chotzer she'enim mishtameres, but he said zochsul isodi, and there's a smichas das because he's able to run after it and catch it. However, v'me'eni yochel agion, he's not able to magion. So again, even though it's a chotzer she'enim mishtameres and he's aimed b'sat sodeu, and he says zochsul isodi, but nevertheless, there's no smichas das to be kained because he can't reach it. So therefore, Zarei Elu Ketzvi Shurotz Kedarke Kegenzes LaMafrichim, where over there there's certainly no smichas das that he's going to be kained because it's like flying through his field, and therefore V'le'amr Klum Elu Kol HaKed Mem Zacha. So we're learning over here a Hagbola in the din of a chotzer she'enim mishtameres that is aimed b'sat sodeo and zochsul isodi. That in a case where he's not expecting to be able to really reach it, so then that doesn't help, and memele he's not kained. Now that's talking about if he's being kained mitzia. However, if it's being given to b'matana, is hail v'acher hiknem lei, v'hareim is galgul and b'teich sodeu, is constantly sodeu, because over here there is a smichas das, because lepel there's a das acheres makna, and no one else could go get it. In the case where it's a mitzia, so they're running after it, so other people are going to run after it. Mashengen, if it belongs to someone, and someone's giving it to him as a matana, so no one really has any access to it. So therefore, if it's a chotzer she'enim mishtameres, and he says, zochsul isodi, so even b'chiyah gavna, he wouldn't be able to catch it, nevertheless, he's consul sodeo. But b'medvar mamurim, we're talking about a tzvi shavur, that he can't catch. In other words, it's running, and he can't catch it. However, v'mhoye tzvi rotz kedarke, and v'gezis mafrichim, so even when there's a das acheres maknolei, is like consul sodeo, because lepel there's no smichas das, he's not expecting at all to be able to catch it. Even if it belongs to someone else, and lepel no one else can catch it, because we're dealing with a tzvi, which is rotz kedarke. Yeah. Halacha yud beis. Mitzias cheres sheite v'kotten yeshba gezel mishum darkei shalom. The whole musig that if a cheres sheite v'kotten should be able to make a ma'aser kinyan is only a din d'Rabbanan, because be'etzem he has no das to make a ma'aser kinyan, and therefore the fact that you're not allowed to take it away from him is a din of midrabbanan mipnei darkei shalom. Lefichach im over acher v'gozl miyodam is ein yes midayana, because gezel, which is only midrabbanan, is not yes midayana. And vim kafir b'avinishba, if l'mashal they tie it against him, and he swore that he doesn't owe the money, is again as ein chayiv b'chemish, because mitri din he doesn't owe the money. Hitaka doesn't owe the money. He knows even though he stole the item, but lepel, since he doesn't really owe the money because it's only gezel midrabbanan, so therefore there's no din a shvua, which there's no din of the Gzeilah of a shvua, which is done on Gzeilah, which is chayav chemesh and asham. Halacha Yud Gimel. Now the din is that the emes, there's no minatayra, there's no din that a metzia of your child should belong to you. That's not a minatayra dikadin. Minatayra say a ben and say a bas, their metzia belongs to them. I mean, we learned before that be'emes, the whole musig that a metzia is theirs is only mipnei darkei shalom, but the musig that it should belong to the parents, to the father rather, that's only a din d'Rabbanan. But in this din d'Rabbanan, there's a difference between a ben and a bas. A ben, if he's a samach al shulchan aviv, which means the father is supporting him, and al derez a bas, if the father is supporting them, there's nothing to talk about. That any mitzvah that they find, any money that they find, or any money that comes into them, which doesn't come through work, bepashtos, belongs to the parents. That's this din of mitzias b'nei ubitei, which is smuchim al shulchani, belongs to the parents. Masha'enken, when we're talking about children which are not samach al shulchani, so here there's a difference between a ben and a bas. A ben, when he's not samach al shulchani, so then the mitzvah belongs to him. Masha'enken, by a bas, even if she's not a smuch al shulchani, as long as she's still a naira, so the mitzvah belongs to the father. That's also a reason Shemeva, because the father has the right to marry her off to whoever he wants. So therefore, they made the takana that the mitzvah should belong to him. And Basha'enkin, once she's a gdeila and she's ein a smuch al shulchana, so then the mitzvah belongs to her. That's this halacha Yud Gimel. Mitzvahs b'nei ubite asmuchim al shulchani, which are being supported by the father, is aval pishein gdelim. They're already gdelim. They're already adults. They're past the age of bar bas mitzvah. And al derezeh mitzvahs bite hanaira of his daughter, the naira aval pishein semecha shel shulchan, and certainly if she's a ktana. Even if he sold her as an amma, but if she finds something as before, at that point in time, she's obviously a ktana, she's not irabegras. That's a dinah deraisa dikadin. The mitzias avdei v'shivchasi aknainim and evet knaini shivcha knainis, or a mitzias ishtei, the mitzia of ishtei, which is also only a din derabanan, mitzia that his wife finds. So the din, all of these dinim is arei l'sholei, is nachamal. Bnei ubitei, which are smuchim al shulchani, and avdei v'shivchasi aknainim, and al derez mitzias ishtei, is all arei l'sholei. B'negea mitzias bitei, so if she's still a naira, so then if she's smuch al shulchan, even if she's not smuch al shulchan, so then it's shalei as well. Even if she's an amma, even if he sold her as an amma, so mitziyasa is shalei. Avol mitziyas b'nei she'ein esei mechal shulchan. If you have your son which you're not supporting, avol pishu cotton, even maybe a cotton, or a mitziyas avdei v'shivchasi o ivrim, an eved ivri or an amma ivriya. Or a mitzias ishtei, the mitzvah of your wife, shehi megureshes ve'ein megureshes, means you divorced her, but she's a safek megureshes, and even though you're still supporting her, because you still have to feed her, but nevertheless the inyan of Eva doesn't apply, because lepel she's the megureshes, ein megureshes, and they're about to get divorced. So therefore, kol elu mitzias ein shalei. So if she finds a mitzvah, so that mitzvah is hers, it's not his.